webinar insights are about how do you create those productivity in an online circumstances. I don't know if you've heard of Speedy Meetings. On Google, there is this option in your calendar. You can enable Speedy Meetings. What that allows you to do is, instead of setting up a meeting for 30 minutes, say, it allows you to set up the same meeting for 25 minutes, giving you 5 minutes break, right? And if you want to do a 1-hour meeting, it allows you to set meeting for 50 minutes, you get 10 minutes break. So that way, even if you have back-to-back meetings, what you can do is Speedy Meetings gives you that little bit of a relaxed time frame, a gap. Otherwise, what happens is it looks like you just couldn't get up from your desk and you're just having back-to-back meetings, and that's just adding to the pressure and burnout. So having Speedy Meetings is going to give you that 5 minutes where you can sip a glass of water or take a break in the bathroom or whatever it is, relax, and then get into the next meeting. This allows you to save time. This allows you to also conclude on your meeting more efficiently, because you know you have 25 minutes in hand and not 30 minutes. So that also means you're talking right on point and not wasting time talking about things that does not matter in that meeting. And it has also proven that 60% of your time every month is saved because of this Speedy Meetings. So that's a great way to incorporate and prioritize your work. Moving ahead, how you can build a very objective way of managing your work, right? Every day, I think what people should do, of course, a lot of organizations are really vouching for OKRs, but OKRs also need some discipline on a daily basis. And what are those things that you can do on a daily basis? Is every day you can pick on your 3 most important things to get done, right? And post notes on your desktop or on your table, and ensure that you do it that day without procrastinating, right? So that way, you know, your most important thing is getting done amidst all of the other things that comes your way, right? And you know, the 4-grid analysis on if something's urgent, if something's important, how you can prioritize. And based on that, these three most important things should be on your very urgent and most important bucket that you have to get done. The rest of it, you can either push or reschedule, or if it just takes, if it's a task that just takes about 2 minutes, get it done at the same time. That way, over the day, you're not getting too deviated or diverged into other things, but you're getting your most important stuff completed. Also use the Pomodoro. Pomodoro is, again, setting a timer for yourself. You pick a task. Say, for example, you need to finish a framework, you need to write an email to someone, or you need to get some Excel data in, right? Set up time for yourself, 25 minutes, and ensure you just fully focus on doing that task. Otherwise, what happens is when you're distracted, the 25 minutes can take you the entire day, right? So that way you focus, finish the task, and then you get a reward of a 5-minute break. So that's the Pomodoro, very, very, very proven. Also saves a lot of time, helps you to focus, right? And moving forward, we'd love to give you some tips around meeting schedules. I think that's been the most important topic. I think the last 2 years, I've heard a lot of it. Many times meetings are the ones that's creating burnout and fatigue, right? What you can do is create a hygiene for yourself. Set time on when you're going to do meetings. And always, when you're fixing meetings, check the other person's calendar and then book it, right? Otherwise, many people are double booked. They don't know which meeting to attend. Then you have to do to and fro's on canceling and not able to make it. So create some calendar hygiene. So you know when you want to meet, you know how much time frame you have kept aside for meetings, and you're looking at other person's calendar before fixing them. And then create video mode. It's more efficient because you get to know people one-on-one, you get to know them, you understand their gestures, their non-verbal cues, and you're able to make that meeting even more fruitful. And one of the most important thing is set the agenda for the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, ensure the minutes have been written, right? So that way, you are creating more efficiency into your system, where the person coming in for the meeting exactly knows what they're going to talk about. So you can start with a 2-minute pep talk. Hey, how are you doing? And how was it? And what's the weather and all of that? And then you can deep dive into those 2 or 3 agenda that you've set up. Each agenda can take about 5 minutes. And by the end of the 5 minutes, you can agree on the top points that you have to take up as action items, write it down and conclude. So in 25 minutes, you're done with the entire meeting, which otherwise would have taken a longer while, or it could have, without an agenda, you may have diverted, not necessarily looked into the key points that you had to work on or achieve. So that way, this is going to really help you create more efficiency into your system. Moving ahead,
I have a question here, may I?
Yeah, sure, Kate.
About default video mode. Do you have any tips about what to do with our employees or with like your team members who do not want to switch on their videos?
Yeah, I think it's a
Shall
very
we fix them or
it's a very tricky situation, because not everybody at all time have that bent of mind or have that enthusiasm and energy to be on the camera and tell people, hey, well, I'm so fresh and up for doing everything. And in fact, a lot of psychological tips encourage us to not force people, right? Not force people to come on video if they're not comfortable. That's absolutely fine. But if you're able to encourage them to come on video, that's great. If not, I think you should just leave it at that. Slack has also come up with a very good new feature that says I'm not 100% ready today to be on camera or on meetings. Right.
Nice.
So yeah, mindfulness in different situations has to be adjusted and understood. So wellness has to always take precedence. If somebody says no, I'm not, so you know the phrase, right? No is a no. So even video is a no. You might want to just continue doing that, but you can always encourage, tell them it'll be great. I haven't seen you for a while, and maybe you can make time one of the days in the week.
Right. Okay.
So that's on the tips to meeting schedule and how to make it more efficient. I think as I was running through it, I was talking about select topics, select agenda, ensure purpose, right? Eliminate the risk of, not having the agenda, or eliminate the risk of, not being able to finish the conversation within time. So setting up that agenda, topic, purpose is going to really help. Second is estimate the amount of time, right? Many times it's not so that if you set up a 60-minute meeting, and if it's not required for all of the members in the meeting to be available for entire 60 minutes, you say, for example, you set up a 5-member meeting for 60 minutes and everybody had to share their portion for 10 minutes. You've technically blocked 6 man hours where their requirement was only for 10 minutes. So be mindful of that. Maybe you can even have 4 15-minute meeting where each one of them presents their whatever they had to tell, and then they move on, instead of being available for the entire 60 minutes. So be more realistic, understand, create more mindfulness in the way you schedule meetings for efficiency. End of it, always please end it with minutes of the meeting, action items, feedbacks, what we agreed on, what's the next step. So all of that has to be documented. When you document it, it creates more efficiencies, because now there is no somebody else say that no, I didn't agree on it, or this is not what we wanted to do. So sometimes the entire purpose of the meeting can derail, right? Because one person would say that no, I don't remember talking about that. That means you have to redo the entire meeting again. So when you write meeting minutes and give them crisply about what we agreed, what's the action items, and how we're moving forward, and that's a legally valid document, right? So you create that document where you know what's ahead, and there is no disagreement later. Even if there is disagreement, you'll have to agree in disagreement, right? So you basically force fit that situation with your team members. So that's one way you can conduct efficient meetings. And another thing is, do not multitask, right? Many times we find ourselves in remote, you're multitasking. And I'm so sorry to tell, I'm seeing everybody doing that so constantly now, right? Kids are also developing that kind of a habit. They want to watch TV and do homework. So you can imagine their brains are wanting too much data all across, right? I think we should slowly bring people to do one thing at a time. So you're bringing your full, you're basically 100% present in what you're trying to do. You're involved in giving it 100% impact and not necessarily doing it for the heck of finishing it, right? So research more and um, bring down the multitasking as much as possible and focus on one thing at a time. So I think the Pomodoros, the speedy meetings, all of that's going to help you do that. Like one thing at a time, and then you move to the next. So you're able to complete it rather keep pondering over it. And moving on, you can also spend some time understanding the needs of your team, right? Many times the team itself doesn't want to have these multiple meetings. They don't understand your leadership styles. They don't want to come to everyday stand-ups. There could be multiple of this, but it's good for you to set clear constructive feedback and establish those standards, right? Bring in your team, establish that, especially if you're a manager, lead, HR. Encourage this, that how you work has to be set up between the team, right? Everybody has to agree that this is what we're going to do. Even if there is disagreement, you might have to bring in to understand what's important for the org and make slight changes that suits everyone and then agree to it, right? And many times there has to be some sort of a adaptation between leaders and employees. So if there are people who are too high on decision making and don't get in buy-in, and they want to just let people take up their decision and work on it, that's not going to happen. You need to create buy-ins. So you need to create a balance. So both your leadership and team has to agree on things and then move forward. That way, invite everyone, right? Include everyone in your decision making, include everyone to look at the concerns, acknowledge those concerns, and encourage some bottom up solutioning. So that way, both leadership teams are setting up clear boundaries, but also there is a lot of buy-in within the team. And once there is buy-in within the team, you're able to move faster there instead of one person pulling the weight or one person creating blockers. So I want to quickly move on and give a little bit of insights on how managers and leaders can now manage the remote work challenges. But I'd love to understand what are those challenges that you faced, right? So we can address them and maybe even take them up and talk about it in tomorrow's webinar where we are addressing those concerns. Kate, you may want to add some points from your end. What are those constant challenges you've seen?
I think that's the one that you've already mentioned, that it's very difficult for a manager to understand what your employee is doing and how much your employee is doing, and especially when you don't get answer immediately, for example, or you don't get your task done and report it back immediately, and you as a manager usually start thinking like, okay, so probably my employee is doing something not related to work, yeah, but actually there might be many reasons, and I guess that creates some tension, and it usually pushes the manager to uh, probably create more control, I would say, but I
Mm.
don't think that's an option actually, and so I guess that is one of the main challenges, like how.
Perfectly put, Kate. Really perfectly put. Because the more rules you create, it's going to land up in either micromanagement or your team really not feeling very sophisticated about the situation, and then you might even risk losing them in the overall. So that's a great point, Kate. Let's look at what are those items that we can look into. So there is camaraderie between the team and the employees, and especially things that the manager or lead can pick up. Yeah, it's important to define what success is for the team, right? Things that can come into your favor is setting goals, creating those OKR frameworks, putting in exactly those metrics that's going to help you and your team realize that Achieving this is going to help really align with the business, really align with how we can create impact. So create those objectives and key result areas and make it more measurable, right? There are formats like smart goals, fast goals. Look up to them, and when you're able to align success metrics based on them, you're basically creating more transparency and creating more possibilities for people to succeed, right? And quickly moving on how do you ensure that you engage with the team, right? Um, Understand your team's, levels of engagement, communicate with them thoroughly, and be mindful of burnout. Basically, you don't want to be at a stage where there's too many tasks on one person and there's very less task on another person, and then there is burnout experienced by some set of folks, right? So balance workload, um, create less stress around how we can have them achieve those objectives rather than pushing them into areas where they do not know what to work on. So some being mindful of all of this is going to really help engage your team and also bring them close to you, right? Hear them out and take those visible actions, right? Communicate one-on-ones, especially having very open-ended conversations and acting on your people's inputs, right? Say, for example, there could be someone who says, you know what, I'm really excited to work here, but I don't know how I'm going to progress in my job. And if I can understand clearly about my progression, maybe I can add in or give my 100% to achieve those, right? So create those avenues, create those career paths for them, create those visibility for them, and then you can take actions on how they can achieve those. So people are right now, many times there are two set of people. One, they want you to tell them how they can move up or how they can grow in the team. Many people also try and see how they can carve their own career into the team as the organization grows in whichever direction the organization is growing. So it's good to have two dimensions and understand from people what they want, and then also align with what the company business wants. Give them clarity, give them context, and deliberate them to have these connects with the team, right? Your team cannot work in silos. Like if there are 5 members in the team and everybody wants promotion, you can't give everybody a promotion. You can't really say that, everybody work in in 5 different directions and then you'll be able to achieve your goals. You'll have to deliberately create those connects within your team so they work together as a team and then succeed as a one team, right? So things like connecting on Slack, having a lot of asynchronous conversations. Even Slack has a couple of good features. There are features like Donut where you can just connect two people automatically on the go and they can fix time to talk outside of work or about work. Get these virtual connect meetings, coffee sessions, socials, team lunches, of course, virtual team lunches, it's absolutely fine. You can maybe just order in and have everyone have lunch with you one day. So all of this is going to engage with the team a little bit further other than just the job and the task, and then bring them together instead of having them in silos. So quickly moving, I'd also love to talk about how to build accountability, right? So many times with remote teams, it's important to set boundaries and agree on terms. This is exactly what I was talking a little while ago. For example, if there are emails, phone calls, WhatsApp, Slack, and there are multiple channels of communication that is coming your way, agree on what's the right time for you to ensure that nobody feels surprised or nobody feels that there was no response or the request was never responded to. So in my team, we had this, right? Emails, if it is not urgent, we respond within 24 hours. Phone calls, if it's not urgent, if it's urgent, we ping people on phone, text, WhatsApp. And for all asynchronous conversations, we work on Slack. Even for Slack, we had respond within 1 hour, right? So that sort of SLA is going to help team agree that, if I message someone and I did not see a response in 15 minutes, it's not going to give me an anxiety.